caregivers say all the time is they don't have time. So how do you persuade someone who doesn't have time to come in and meet with you and explain how they're going to actually create time by feeling better?
It is a tricky one, Ellen. I have to tell you, though, I know that if I can get someone through my doors, okay, so first there's sometimes a phone call. I know that if I can get them through the doors, they will come back, because this is a living room setting. It's non-threatening. You feel very safe to express. So once we can create that safety for them, they realize, oh, I really should do this. And one of the things I talk a lot about, and you heard Bill mention it earlier, is if you are not stable and strong, grounded, steady, and calm, you cannot do the best job at taking care of someone you love. You have to be grounded. It's like if you're hysterical, if I hand you a screaming baby and you're tense and uptight, and what's going to happen to that screaming baby?
You're going to drop it.
either you're going to drop the baby, or the baby's going to scream louder.
Oh, okay.
in the groups that I was every second week, a lot of people come in for the first time, resentful, angry that they're there, unhappy that they're there, don't want to be there, think this is going to be the only time they're going to be there. And we sit in a support group with 10, 12 other people. No one is...
there's no judgment.
There's no judgment.
No
That's
judgment.
the word. No one's judging anybody. And some people don't come back. Most do. Mm-hmm. And a couple of months later, it is like a switch goes on. And they have become just part of the family, the group. And they're very happy that they came. And we tell them all the time, the only thing you have to do is come back here.
Right.
That's the only thing.
You have to breathe.
Yeah.
You know, we do talk about take your own oxygen first, and that you have to be selfish in order to be selfless.
Right.
You really do. Leeza has a saying called breathe, believe, receive. You have to breathe in that oxygen so that you are getting full enough and take care of yourself. So you have to breathe. You have to believe that you're going to get through this journey. And then we tell you to put your hands out, because you have to receive. You have to receive what others have to offer at Leeza's place. So, you know, she always says, you've heard of CPR? Well, at Leeza's place, we have BBR. Breathe, believe, receive.
Now, isn't that difficult for the kind of person who becomes a caregiver, the one who says, yes, I'll take responsibility, because their nature is to give, and they're not accustomed to receiving? Where do you get that turnaround and like you say, that light going on where they can say, okay, it's okay for me to be happy and be comfortable, even with all of this happening?
Right. So I think so many times caregivers come in and do not get that concept. If I can convince them, usually before they leave, I point to our calendar and say, so which one of these activities are you willing to commit to? Would you like to come to an educational program on a Friday, or would you like to come to a group? It's not, are you coming back? It's one or the other.
Right.
Once they sit in support group and hear from the others that they are going to leave a little lighter and a little more refreshed. And if I can do that for them and facilitate that happening, I know they'll come back. They do.
And then once they get that, and Bill, you can probably put this into words, how it then helps them be better caregivers by giving to themselves.
Night and day. It helped me just to breathe. I mean, it gives you a break from this in my head. I mean, you walk into a group and people are they hug you because they understand what you're going through. Right. And you give them a hug because you understand what they're going through. And I wasn't getting that from anybody.
Right.
It was, I began to sacrifice my life. It just happens. You don't realize that it's happening. But my mom's needs became all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but over time, they came before my needs. And Leeza's place put me back in the spotlight for me, which I was losing sight of. And I was getting resentful and hostile about everything. And banging my head against a wall that wasn't there, but my head was searching for that wall to bang. And Leeza's place, I didn't have to search to bang my head anymore.
Okay.
All right? And it helped my mom tremendously. I wasn't yelling at her, or certainly much less than I was. I wasn't screaming at her. I had a way, like you said, to get her off focus every time she'd ask me 10 things in 5 minutes, the same question in 5 minutes. I had a way to direct that so it would calm her down.
And that gives her a better quality of life,
and it gave me
too.
resources of doctors. And just bringing her to Leeza's place once every 2 weeks gave her a break from her stuff by being with other people, which she really is not being with other people anymore.
Ellen, there are a lot of resources out there. And when you come to Leeza's place, we've already vetted those resources out. Because, you can go online and make yourself crazy. You can spend hours upon hours digging and searching, and is this the right one? Is that I don't know. But when you come to Leeza's place, we sit down with you and help you find that resource that makes sense for you. And that's very soothing and calming, reassuring. And once you get some education and you're kind of alleviating a little bit of that anxiety that you have from caregiving, you are able to hear better, you're able to see better. And then, we talk about redirecting someone's attention. Always agree with them. I used to say, if your mom says there's orange cats climbing up that wall, your job is to look at that wall and go, wow, they're really beautiful, Mom. And then change the subject. It's no different than dealing with a child. We want to give someone the dignity and respect that they deserve. And yet we are dealing cognitively with a child. So we teach constantly talk about and teach different tactics and strategies and how to get through your specific issue that you're dealing with at home.
Right. And having vetted the resources is a huge thing. Because, again, when you're talking about people who not only are inclined to give, they want to know. And to sift through everything that's out there on the Internet and know what's legitimate, what's not, and what's right. Being able to have that information and know that it's been gone through by people who have your best interests at heart has to be such a huge relief.
Absolutely.
Now, aren't there also physical repercussions that can come with the kind of emotional stress that you go through in being a caregiver? The banging your head against the proverbial wall. What are people? Yes.
There's a lot of research out there, Ellen, that talks about the depression. Caregivers have the highest or report the highest percentages of depression. There's sleeplessness, so we have some sleep disorders. And between those two, that's enough to make you crazy. But yes, our caregiver health is worse than the average person. So that's why it's so vital and so critical and so important for them to take care of themselves. I had a caregiver who started learning how to take her oxygen first. And after being in our program for 6 months, I got a phone call from her son complaining that his mother was taking care of herself before his father. Is that not ridiculous? I said, what do you mean? And he said, do you know my father sits? And I said, well, if your mom doesn't take care of yourself and your mom dies, because 63% of the time the caregiver dies before the person they're taking care of. So if your mom dies, are you ready to take care of your dad?
And that's just one more challenge that caregivers deal with is other people who, as Bill was saying, think they know what is the right thing to do.
You hear these stories all the time in the support group, whether it's a sister, a brother, another child. It was something we dealt with constantly. People who live in other states, people who live nearby, people who come in for 2 weeks or a day or 2 days and say, oh, there's nothing wrong with Daddy, because they don't see it. It's a tough thing for a caregiver to go through, to deal with the family members. Yeah. I mean, it's a biggie.
Yes, people who have your interests at heart, but they don't really know.
And Leeza's Place gives you someone to talk to about it, because if you don't have Leeza's Place and other people who are going through it, who are you talking to about it other than yourself? And that will drive you nuts.
Right.
It takes the air out of the balloon.
And the services are free.
The services are absolutely free.
So where does someone get information about Leeza's Place?
2 ways. Our local Leeza's Place, the local phone number is 954-883-7240.
Call.
Or you can go to www.leezasplace.org and then, of course, click on our location, which is Leeza's Place Memorial Hospital, Pembroke.
Okay, and it's LEEZAS Place.org. Bonnie Bonomo, Director of Leeza's Place, Bill Plonner, just someone who understands what caregiving is all about. Thank you both for your time. I think we should all take a breath.
Take a breath. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you giving us this time to kind of shine a light on caregiving.
It's going to be more and more important as more people are aging, and we certainly have the population here in South Florida that can use the service.
Thank you.
Thank you.